Welcome to your 8.4 video notes on volumes of rectangular prisms. By the end of this, you're going to be able to find the space inside a rectangular prism. Let's start the notes. First up, we have volume, which is the amount of space inside a three-dimensional solid. So think of it like how much water could I fill this object with, this solid with. Okay, that's what volume is, how much you can fill it up. All right. Now we're talking about volumes of rectangular prisms in particular. Okay. Now there are technically two formulas. You're probably going to be more accustomed, and most people are used to seeing this and using this. Volume equals length times width times height. Okay. Which is perfectly fine. It works very well, obviously, but it only works for rectangular prisms. The much more common one that we're going to talk about in class, and the one that's going to give you a better start to future solids, is volume equals area of the base times the height. Okay. Now they're actually the same formula. It's just the way you're approaching it is different. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about this one first. With volume equals length times width times height, all I'm doing is just taking whatever the length is times whatever the width is times whatever the height is, and that tells me how much space is inside this area here. Okay. So I figure out, okay, how much could I line up across? Then how much could I line up side to side and up and down, and then how much could I stack on top of itself? Length, width, height. Okay. Now the reason I prefer us to learn volume equals area of the base times height is because it shows a greater understanding of what we're doing. Okay. If we find the area of the base, so this base right here, let's say this is the base, this area here. Okay. You find the area of the base first. Now how do you do that? Well, you take the length times the width. So that's where this part is in the formula. This is why they're the exact same thing. Okay, you take the length times width, and that's how you get the area of the base. Then what you're doing is when you're multiplying by the height, you're saying how many individual bases can I stack on top of each other before the entire shape is filled up. Okay, so basically you're finding the area of the base and then stacking it on top of itself to see how much can fill up the solid. All right. So this is the one I'm going to focus on more. All right, pause the video, copy down everything that you see, including the picture. All right, now let's work on it. Find the volume of each prism. Okay, so volume, we're going to focus on area of the base times height. If you prefer to do length times width times height, that's fine. Just keep in mind, it's not going to work down the road. Okay, you will be seeing this formula much more often. I know this one is easier, but this one shows a better understanding, so it's better to get in this habit now, but I don't want you to not do this one either. I'm just giving you the heads up. All right, so volume equals, well, area of the base, that's capital B, so that's this first. This is the base. Okay. Well, to find the area of the base, I take the length times the width, so I'm going to take 7/8 times 1/2. Okay, that's the area of the base, and then I'm going to multiply it by the height. How many of these are stacked up on top of each other? Well, 5/8. So times 5/8. Okay? Alright, it's going to look the exact same whether you do length times width times height. Again, I'm more focused on the understanding of what's happening over just being able to solve a problem. Alright, so volume equals, when we multiply fractions, what I like to do first is just to see, is there any simplification that I can do either across or on top of each other? And it looks like I've got all odds on top and all evens on bottom, so I can't reduce at all. 7 times 1 is 7, times 5 is 35. 8 times 8 is 64. 64 times 2 is going to be 128. And because I couldn't simplify here, that means this is already in simplest form. So it's 35 over 128, or 35 128ths meters cubed. That's the other thing, because we're talking about volume, we're going to cube our answer. And that's it. Now the biggest thing is to make sure you also simplify. This is already simplified. I can't go any further, so this is your final answer. Pause the video, copy this down. Alright, moving on. Number 2. Again, we have a rectangular prism, so we're going to find the volume using area of the base times the height. So volume equals, well, the area of the base, this is the base right here. So I'm finding the area first, and then I'm seeing how many times can I stack this area on top of itself to fill it up. Length times width is how we find the area of the base for a square or a rectangle, so 3/2 times 3/2. We take all that and multiply by how tall it is, the height. Another 3/2. Okay. just as a side note, this is technically, it is a rectangular prism, but the better name for it, because the length, width, and height are all the same, we would call this a cube. Alright, first I'm going to simplify before I multiply, but again, there's nothing I can simplify. 3 can't go into 2, and it's all 3's on top, all 2's on bottom, so I'm just going to multiply. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 again is 8. I could accept this inches cubed as your final answer, or 8 goes into 27 3 times, let's see, with 3 left over, eighths, and again, you still have to label. I can accept either one of these answers. Okay, one's an improper fraction, one is just a mixed number. Either one is okay with me. Pause the video, copy down everything you see. Alright. One more problem. Write and solve an equation to find the missing dimension of the prism. So we're dealing with a rectangular prism again. This time they're telling me the volume though. What I need to figure out is, okay, what's the width? That's the missing measurement. So again, volume equals area of the base times the height. Volume I know this time though is 1,375. So for V, I can plug in 1,375 equals area of the base, which is the length, so 20, times the width, which is W, because I don't know what the width is, times the height. So we found the area of the base, this right here, and now we're going to multiply by the height, which in this case is, here I'm going to start putting parentheses, 5.5. Alright, so this 1,375 is going to stay the same. Now this is going back to last chapter when we learned about algebra. 20 and W can't be multiplied together, it's just 20W because I don't know what W is. But I can take 20 times 5.5, which gets me, I believe, 110. Yep, perfect. So 20 times 5.5 gives me 110 W. Okay, now we're just solving for W. What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So we're going to divide by 110 on both sides. That gets me W equaling, well, 1,375 divided by 110 is 12.5. You could say 12.5. You could say, or you could say 12.5. Okay, but the important thing is we're just dealing with centimeters. We're not saying centimeters cubed because width is just a straight line. When you're measuring in straight lines, you just use centimeters or feet or inches. It's to the first power, not to the third. Okay, so this is your final answer, and this would be the work that you have to show. Make sure you pause the video and copy down everything you see. If you're done with that, then what I want you to do is go to IXL and practice XHF. Good luck.